Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Almost Aussie podcast. Now, someday I need to make like a theme music for this. I was thinking of the beginning of Men at Work when they go like dun 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 dun, Land Down Under. I thought that'd be great, just like remix it with like a different beat, not a beat, but a different instrument. I'm pretty sure they used, what is that? Like a triangle? Anyway, so I thought that would be pretty cool for like an entry to this podcast because it's Almost Aussie. And I'm pretty sure the lead singer, Colin Hayes, I think he's like Irish or English or something like that. Which is really cool because he wrote the song and then he like grouped up with those people and made it. And then either they broke up or he just like bounced and he made this acoustic version of it on his own album. And I thought it was really good. I like it way better than, it's like, it's less gimmicky. The Land Down Under with Men at Work, it sounds a bit more like, like fun and silly. Where his one is, his acoustic version is like really nice and like deep and stylish kind of thing. Speaking of stylish, as you can see, we're at a different place. I got my laptop here, microphone, got me trusty lamp, which kind of serves no purpose because I got like a spotlight over there, which basically like overpowers it. Sipping coffee from a cognac / spirits glass. Don't know why. I thought it would just like add to the aesthetic of like having like a nice velvet chair and having like a bit of more of like an intimate space, you know, because I haven't done a podcast yet where it's just you and I. I've done the talking alone ones, but you don't see my face. I kind of just riff on the video that I'm watching, and this will be the first one where I actually am going to just sit here one-on-one and talk to a camera by myself at 10 o'clock at night. Yes. I figured I'll have to get a podcast in because if I didn't get it this week, I'll miss out again. Missed out the week before last week, so see what happens, you know. I might actually miss this week and post it next week, but you don't have to worry about that. As you can see, there's no Callan again. There is a good reason for it. So last episode, we basically spoke about preparing a topic, right, for discussion, or a few topics so that we have something to talk about and drive the whole podcast towards a certain destination. And as you can see, he bailed. He's like, fuck that, not gonna do that, didn't show up. But that's not what happened. So basically what's happening is he's moving houses, and as you all probably know, it gets fucking stressful and super overwhelming, and he's got like the full-time work. So we didn't record one last week. We're not going to record one next week. So I'm just going to do this one for the 2 weeks. So I'm going to miss out 1 week again, unfortunately. But should be back to normal afterwards, after he moves in. Not sure what we're going to do here. I have a few topics ready to talk about, to discuss. But I guess first we'll do a bit of like housekeeping. Just going to catch you guys up on what's been going on. Obviously, the computer video has been released. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a bitch to film. My friend Dana, she stayed up until like 3-4 a.m. on 2 occasions, just helping me get like the lighting right, the camera angles right, and that was a mission in and of itself. Definitely not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna do anything to that scale again, where it's like a giant fucking computer that you have to like walk around. If it's a small object, I might give like doing a commercial another try. But stabilization became a big problem. It definitely needs some kind of like a rig to operate the phone because yeah, it was just, it looked, even in post-production, if you add the stabilization to the clip, it kind of, because it crops it in, and then what it does, it warps the video. So instead of like jittery like movement from the not stabilized footage, it kind of like warps it so it looks like it's like a sheet metal kind of thing. So it doesn't look like it jitters, but it's kind of like waving if it's really bad. It worked for some bits, which, I'm happy about. Just keeping an eye on the levels here. But besides that, that was a lot of effort for one person. And I suggest if you don't make your own music and your own sounds, you should probably find kind of like a song or some kind of a theme to edit the video to, as opposed to what I did was I cut together the video, and then I fucking tried to find the right song to match the pace that I cut it at, and then ended up just downloading. Luckily, I came across these sound effect packs, and there are heaps of different ones. And if you go into that video on Instagram, I'm pretty sure I'll link everything. So check it out if you're into that. And I pretty much made the whole backing track to the pace of the song. So it kind of worked out. But I suggest if you do have some kind of like a tone in mind, probably find the music and then edit the clip to the music. That would have saved me a lot of time. But hey, that was like a semi-expensive knowledge. I like that concept where Dave Chappelle talked about on Joe Rogan's podcast, where you're constantly gathering knowledge, right? Some knowledge is easy to gather and it's cheap, where like you can read it on the internet or someone can tell you, and then other knowledge is expensive, where you sacrifice time, mental health, physical health, put yourself in danger, whatever it may be, to kind of like achieve a task. And through that, you gain the knowledge of that task. So for example, if like an army veteran told you about what happened in one of his tours to Iraq or wherever, the knowledge that you gain from him is cheap knowledge, because he's telling you that you don't have to experience it firsthand and like be in danger. But how he received the knowledge is the expensive way, because he was there, he was under high pressure. Now, there's an argument that expensive knowledge is more valuable, which is obviously true. I think so. Because, first-hand experience is the best way to learn something. But second-hand knowledge or cheaper knowledge, super important. That goes back to like, listen to what your parents tell you, right? Because they've been there, they've done that, and you're like, yeah, sure. And then you fuck off and do it anyway. And you kind of realize that, oh, fuck, I should have listened to my parents. But because you did that mistake, you know more about that mistake. And I think the easiest example to this kind of double think or whatever it may be is when your parents tell you not to do drugs. Because in some scenarios, they benefit you. And others, you're gonna end up fucked up. So yeah, expensive knowledge, good knowledge, bad knowledge, it's really entirely up to you. Anyway, so filming that whole ordeal was expensive knowledge for me anyway, because I was like coming down with tonsillitis, wasn't having the best time, stayed up late till 3-4 a.m. and just ran myself down during the filming. Uni suffered in that time. Don't tell my mom. But I kind of like put everything aside and focus on this project. And that happened with the donut video as well. It's just terrible. When I pick up a project, I really want to get it like perfectly done. And if I don't, I just ignore everything else. And realistically speaking, universities should come prior to it. But like, it's so fun. It's so fun. I I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, but I'm enjoying university too. I've noticed it's if you try and you're really engaged into the topic and you're enjoying the time and coming up with ideas, it can be quite an interesting like ego booster. Because if you're good at what you're doing, other people will look at it and it's like, hey, oh fuck, that's probably really loud. Hey, you're good at what you're doing. And you're like, thank you. And you feel really good, right? And then you go into like group projects and you kind of like, hey, I've got an idea. And everyone else is like, that's a good idea. And then you do your idea. And it's a really interesting opportunity to kind of like build self-confidence in your field of study, especially if you just apply yourself more, which I don't. I think I just lucked out because it turns out this like Bachelor of Design is really not exactly, but it's really in the avenue that I want to pursue, especially because you're working on a lot of projects and you're constantly making things, whether it's like 2D drawings to 3D renders. Well, not really. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like paper-wise and computer-wise. And to you, like actually building physical objects. I'm pretty sure in 2 of my classes I had to build physical objects. And in one other class I had to draw two-dimensionally, but 3-dimensional figures. And then in another class, I had to make a website and posters. So it's a good diversity of media that you're creating and like physical and non-physical things, which is really, really cool. I'm enjoying it a lot. I just wish I'm more efficient with my time because I really pushed all of this stuff back to prioritize my 3D rendering, learning Blender, all that kind of stuff. And now I'm just kind of like staying up late, waking up early. Well, nowadays it's more waking up early than staying up late. But just, I'm handling it. But I think having a bit more time and just tackling these things more efficiently definitely would help a lot. Because I don't think university is hard. Well, my subject isn't hard. I'm sure if you're like doing anything else, it's like 100 times harder. But so far, we don't have any tests. It's all assignments. So, I can just pace myself. I love that. I hate taking tests. It's super anxiety causing, anxiety generating. Not even anxiety. It's just uncomfortable. And like building up that pressure, knowing that you're going to come to this day where you have to like sit down and it's all or nothing, Where assignments, it's more, you can like work on it and progressively, especially in design, because they encourage you to come back and say, hey, this is what I have. How can I improve this? In a test, you can't like go up to your teachers like, hey, so this is what I have. What do you reckon? They tell you what they reckon, but that's usually after the finalized grade, which isn't very helpful to you. Well, it is. It's just not helpful to your mark. Anyway, I've been really enjoying that. And it's crazy to think how many projects we've done so far. I think each class has 3 assessment tasks, or 3 assessments, whatever. And one of them has 4. So far, we've got like 2 to 3 down. And then in the last 2-3 weeks, like the rest will get finished. And I'm just like sitting there thinking, first of all, I had this thought in my head for some reason. It's like, why am I even doing this? I can't show this to anyone. Like I can't upload it and get likes because why would I post my assignment on Instagram unless it's really, really interesting? And then I thought, like, why am I thinking that? This is obviously to get a degree, nothing to do with it. Anyway, so you kind of get this like separate mindset, or I did. And the second thought process was that, holy fuck, I've just almost finished a trimester and I feel like I've done a year's worth of projects, which I've never done before. Like all of these like manufacturing and physically creating things and learning so much. I guess it really impressed me, the degree of how much I can get done in like a small amount of time, especially unorganized and always under time pressure. Yeah, and actually been getting good grades. Like there's like pass, there's a distinction, good, great, excellent, pass, good, great, excellent, pass, distinction, high distinction. I don't know. It's still pretty confusing, but I've been getting the second last quite often, which is either great or a distinction. Don't know. As you can see, not paying much attention. But I've been getting like 75 to 80% mark, which is great. I only have to pass topics. I'm not really trying to go above and beyond with my assessments. I'm really just kind of trying to complete them to my standards based on the brief that they give me, which I think is what every design student should do, because funnily enough, design is a subjective topic, right? What makes a good design is something to one person that it is not for another person. But at university, it has to be very objective because they have to market across a certain amount of professors, and then the grade gets averaged out. So they get like a criteria. They go like, okay, does this match that? Yep. This matches that. Yep. This, that. And so it's really odd because like you can make it look really shit and you can still get a really good mark for it, which I don't recommend. I think you should always try to make it aesthetically pleasing as much as you can, and then hit the rest of the criteria. I usually try to focus on the visual and then everything else comes beside it, because you can always just like make up words and sentences and phrases to kind of like add more meaning to a design that isn't really there. So at the end of the day, they're just looking for like, do you understand what we taught you? You're like, yes, because of this. And they're like, cool. And that's that. So yeah, I've been kind of like deciphering it over the first trimester, and I'm super excited for the rest. Yeah. So that was my little 17-minute university rant. I kind of sat down and I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? Without Callan here, all by myself? This is super discomforting, uncomfortable. This is super uncomfortable. So I put on my nice shirt, I put on my trackies, and I got a nice setting going. And here I am, talking about university for 20 minutes. Anyway, some of the topics that I wanted to discuss, we've discussed a little bit before, but I think it seems like it's been getting a lot more track and a lot more getting a lot more steam, I guess, in the mainstream community. And I just want to touch on or discuss a little bit like, the blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFTs, all of that. Because, recently, especially with Elon Musk being on SNL, and just to kind of like divert a little bit, I watched his monologue and his like mum joined. It's super awkward, but his script really kind of like played towards it. But also, he is not a performer, right? He speaks about what he knows at interviews, but he's not a performing artist, so to say. He's not like a comedian. He doesn't have an exceptional knowledge of how to time jokes, etc. So it was interesting to watch this dude who is clearly super introverted or like reserved and in his head to like stand up in front of people and try and do comedy. I thought that a lot of it was quite well done. It wasn't like hilarious. Like some parts were. He clearly got some good writers. But most of it I thought was nice. Definitely don't see what the fuss was about when people were complaining about him. Anyway, so that's the Elon Musk SNL thing. And as we've all heard, Elon Musk has a Bitcoin currency or blockchain currency, right? It's called Dogecoin, which I don't get because clearly it's like DOGEE. So it's like it's referencing to a dog, to the dog meme. So why is it like not doggy coin, you know? Doggy Doge. Like Doge sounds real fancy, but I feel like doggy coin would make more sense. But also it wouldn't sound as cool, I guess. Hey, have you bought some Dogecoin over the weekend? Yeah, bro. Hey man, have you got some doggy coin? We've got it. Yeah, that was cringy. So yeah, probably just stick to Doge. It's a bad idea. Yeah, so anyway, he tweeted out saying, hey guys, in a nutshell, not word for word, it's like, hey, this is kind of a joke. You should probably pay fucking attention to what you invest your money into, because Bitcoin, all this Ethereum like blockchain currency is legit, but pay attention and don't fucking throw your money away, because we have seen now quite a few scam sites and scam services in terms of Bitcoining. There's been one scenario where they create like fake companies or fake coin currencies where they kind of like start them up, get people to invest because they hype them up, and then they just kind of once the coin makes like once the coin spikes up, they freeze the company and they shut down the coin and they just kind of like take all the money out, and everyone else lose their investment and they just kind of like bail with all the profits. So that's one. The other one that I saw recently was that they literally like creating fake websites where they fake news articles saying Elon Musk will double whatever you invest into this type of coin and he'll pay it out straight away. All you have to do is invest. And the whole idea is that like you buy this coin and then he buys it for double the amount of price in the hopes of that it will skyrocket, and then eventually he'll make all the profit, or he'll make all the money back in the profit, right? So what happens is that people put in their money, they're like, fuck yeah, Elon Musk. Like it looks like a legit article. They're like, fuck yeah, Elon Musk's gonna pay me double straight away. This is a great idea. And they get scammed and their money gets taken away and the service gets shut down. And yeah, so this lady spent like 9,000 euros, which isn't good. So that's another thing. No one really knows what's happening with all this stuff, right? Because here in the first world country, we see this pretty much as gambling. We're like, oh, fuck yeah, cum coin. Let's put some money in it and see what happens. That's actually a legit coin currency. But in third world countries, I've recently read in Venezuela, whatever their currency is, I cannot remember. But it's becoming so devalued because of inflation that it's like it's pennies, sub pennies on a dollar. It's getting worse and worse. And there's been cases where if these like people that live in Venezuela want to like travel to a different country or want to like get out to a better place, they literally have to like wheelbarrow their money onto a bus and like go to a different place so they can exchange it for a few dollars of the other currency. It's super inefficient. It's just too much. It's too much paper that signifies too little. So what's been happening, which is really, really cool, and that's where like all this Bitcoin currency can really, we really see how it impacts the world, is in Venezuela, I'm pretty sure they have their own blockchain Bitcoin currency, where it's some type of, Ethereum is like part of Bitcoin, and Cumcoin and Dogecoin, and they're all like little variations, right? So in Venezuela, they have their own variation. And what happens is that they basically convert all their currency into crypto, and they get employers to pay them in cryptocurrency. And in that way, they have this set amount of money that obviously it spikes up and down depending on like the investments, depending what Bitcoin is at. But, so far it's been like pretty steady, it hasn't been too bad. And compared to like how shitty their currency is getting, it's a very, very good investment on their behalf, right? So what they've been doing, they've been putting all their money into cryptocurrency, which eliminates all of this like paper that they have to protect with their lives. And they've created cryptocurrency ATMs. So what they do is, in Venezuela, they put all of their money into one ATM. They generate into cryptocurrency. They travel to wherever else. And in those, it sounded like in quite a few third world countries, they actually have cryptocurrency ATMs around Venezuela. Geographically speaking, I don't even know where it is. I know it's bad, but let's check it out. Now that I have a computer here. Venezuela geography. Okay, where are we at? Venezuela, Corpus, mountain. Just tell me where it is. Just where is Venezuela? Let's see. It is above Colombia and Brazil. Yeah, so apparently in the countries around Venezuela, which is Brazil, Colombia, Guyana, as we found out, they have cryptocurrency ATMs. So these people would travel by bus to these different places, and instead of like carrying around these giant wads of cash, they just go to a different place and then take out some money from the ATM, from the cryptocurrency ATM, in the currency that they're at. So they're not receiving whatever currency like Venezuela has. They're literally like transferring it and then buying that currency with cryptocurrency, right? So they're not risking any inflation or anything else. Because with that cryptocurrency, you can buy any currency, which is really fucking cool. Like that's an interesting solution to really, really shitty third world problems. They don't have to worry about being robbed. They don't have to worry about carrying such large amounts with them. It's a lot. It's more interesting. It's more interesting than listening to your friends or your co-workers talk about which coin they're investing in to get this much money out. Like, yeah, I get it. You're making money and it's great. And hey, if I had money to put in there, I'd be fucking doing it too, which I will eventually. But it's so much cooler to see how these things are getting applied in the real world. I mean, a part of that you can see in the NFTs, right? The non-fungible tokens, which is basically, I've talked about this with Callum before. I think it was in the second episode. Digital artists, well, now it's literally any artist really at this point, that scans something digitally or creates something digitally. Anyway, anyone at this point upload. I haven't checked this. Did I even press? Yeah, I did press record. How cool is that? Any artist that uploads anything digitally, and puts it onto the blockchain and sells it on whatever nifty gateway or OpenSea like website where you can trade cryptocurrency for this coin, for this non-fungible token that is attached to this art piece, and whoever owns the token is agreed upon that they own the art piece, so people spend millions of dollars in some cases for these tokens to own that art piece. Look it up. It's really interesting. Look up Beeple. He made $69 million at the Christie's auction, just selling one of his art pieces. Well, not one of his art pieces. It's a collage of 5,000 art pieces. So yeah, $69 million. That made him one of the richest living artists in the world. And this guy who actually didn't win, who came like second in the bidding war, he settled for a Picasso painting. So, like he couldn't get Beeple, so get a Picasso, whatever. Which is like fucking interesting to hear. But yeah, so you got like that scheme of things, and then you got like all these other artists that are hopping onto the NFT train. And there's been an interesting problem. There's been a problem of all this cryptocurrency and the blockchain and NFTs. It's been commonly associated with being horrible for the environment. There are statistics that show that the energy consumption of creating this blockchain, or of like maintaining it and mining cryptocurrency, whatever that means. Apparently, there's this meme that pretty much said like, this one guy said, "Hey, I still don't understand Bitcoin," and this other guy goes like, "Well, imagine keeping your car in idle 24/7, so that it can generate completed Sudokus, like the puzzles, so that you can take them and buy heroin." Like, it makes no sense, but that's basically what Bitcoin. Let's just call it Bitcoining. That's basically what Bitcoining means. So this whole process, keeping this car in idle, which in this case is actually a computer farm, basically. It's just like a shitload of computers farming this, shitload of computers Bitcoining 24/7. And this takes up an insane amount of energy, right? And some statistics have shown that it's compared to like a small country like Denmark or Venezuela or something else in terms of energy consumption, which is insane. It's not real, it's on the internet, but it's consuming so much of the environment's resources that it has that kind of like an impact. On the other side, right? So how do we compare that? Like, yes, it's negative, I agree. But then we compare it to what kind of impact do we have on creating physical currency, like banknotes, coins, banking systems, buildings for banks, buildings to store all of these like currencies in, ATM machines, paying employees, all of that. Like, how much are we taking from the environment to keeping this cycle going? And this hasn't really become more efficient over time since like when it first started, which was like what, 1600s, 1500s? I don't know. The whole banking system, probably earlier than that. Like, instead of coins, like banknotes and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it started in the early Victorian era, which might have been like late 17th century. I sound like a professor. I have no fucking clue what I'm saying. Anyway, so yeah, let's see how the battery is doing. So good. Such a good battery. Anyway, Yeah, and it hasn't really progressed since. Like, yeah, we have gone towards more online banking and credit cards and all that shit, but we still print so much more money than before. And, printing isn't like a process that's done easily. Whatever the ink is made of is one thing, but all the paper is coming from trees, right? And like now we have like these plastic coated notes, which doesn't help the environment either. And what does that compare to energy consumption? I'd imagine it'd be significantly more than what cryptocurrency is consuming. And then on the other side, it's been really interesting to watch some of these NFT listings or non-fungible token listings, which usually refers to an art piece being sold, where a lot of artists have, or a lot of, like, for example, I'm pretty sure it was Corridor Digital, maybe, or some other people as well, and Beeple as well. They've done charity auctions where they list one art piece that all the income comes into research to basically remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which is really interesting because I have no fucking clue how to do it. So I might look it up and just talk about it next week, because I'm probably going to do it by myself. Maybe? Don't know. Anyway, so these artists are like, okay, so we're making so much money off this, right? Like, people love buying NFTs, love having this concept of having your own art piece that you own, but we're impacting the environment in this way. So people are like, okay, cool. Well, how about we just like put a designated amount of money into making it carbon neutral, or even remove more carbon from the atmosphere than it generates, right? Through burning energy. And, this really sprung into existence in the past few months, like really exploded, where we've started to pay attention to blockchain, to NFTs, to how much impact it has on the environment, where we've known how much impact all of our other ways of working with money have had, right? All the people that have benefited from making an insane amount of money are usually just hoarding that money and are just becoming the richest people and blah, blah, blah. And how many of them have really turned around and it's like, hey, I've made this much money, I should probably put some of this back to research and economically, like environmentally friendly way to keep this going, right? Hasn't really happened. It's only started to turn that way in the past, 10 years, where like rich people are starting to become more caring for the environment. But before that, for all of the amount of time that people have been making a shitload of money, no one has turned around and was like, hey, maybe we should kind of like find out how to make this sustainable, right? Where with NFTs, you're looking at people that care, Artists usually care because usually artists are connected with the environment. Well, in one way or another, right? And within, 6 months that this has been really popping off, they've already got together and like, hey, okay, so how do we do this? How do we make money? How can we keep this sustainable, keep our income going while we help the planet? Okay, cool. We'll just make this carbon neutral. Okay, where do we put our money? We'll just make charity auctions to put our money into that. Like, it took no time for artists to come together and say, hey, we need to fucking help the planet because we're making so much money off of this and we want to keep doing it. So why not make it sustainable? Which is really nice. And you get the media and a lot of uneducated people shitting on it because at the moment, it is very inefficient to maintain the blockchain at the moment. But they are they're in the works of Ethereum 2.0, which is supposed to be like 100 times more efficient process of running the blockchain, which like once they implement that, the power consumption is going to drop significantly, and that's going to change the game. That's going to be even more efficient, even more popular, and that pretty much segues me into the next segment. Fuck, 40 minutes! Holy shit! I didn't know I could do this. This is interesting. Into the next and final segment is I lost my train of thought. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, Ethereum 2.0, the progress where all of this NFT stuff is heading into, or like blockchain and Bitcoin. We're obviously creating a decentralized system to operate in, especially money-wise. What does that mean? That means that decentralized systems will most likely pop off even more when the blockchain becomes more efficient at storing information across multiple platforms, or multiple computers, or throughout the network, whatever you want to call it. So, what is that going to mean? That's probably going to mean that we'll move away from centralized systems such as Google, Facebook, Instagram, all of these like media giants that hoard information and provide you service for free so that they can gain information in what you're doing, what you're interested in, what your audience is interested in. They can get that information and make money off advertisement from people that want to sell shit. And one of my tutors said it the best. If a software is free, then most likely you're the product. Or if a service is free, you're the product. Something like that, I think. Which pretty much means that like if the service is free, you're probably paying for it by being sold out in some kind of way, right? You're kind of like signing away your rights, which in the blockchain isn't really going to work. And we've seen this now with Minds and a few other decentralized social media sites where they pay you in a certain cryptocurrency to post content. And this is based off of like, if more people interact with your stuff, like it, share it, etc., that's going to generate like some kind of like a coin currency that you will earn onto your account. And then you can take that and invest it into whatever else, right? So they basically, the service, you can actually make money off of being on that platform rather than now they make money of you being on it, and the only way you can make money is if you build the audience and you make money off of your audience, right? Where on like the decentralized networks, it would be like the audience makes you the money by interacting with your content, right? So the more popular that you are, the more money you get based on the interactions that you get on your profile. I think you should probably look it up. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So there's that side of it. Then obviously there's going to be the whole internet, World Wide Web side of it. Google is most likely going to deform in some kind of way. We'll still probably need a search engine. But what's going to happen is that all of these articles, websites, news pages, they're going to have these NFT tokens, I suppose, attached to them. Where the idea is that if you put something onto the blockchain, that piece of information is going to be assigned to a certain algorithm in the blockchain. And this algorithm will contain information from where it came from. So if you're going to write this article about Michael Jordan and you're going to say, oh, he's a real piece of shit because he did this, that, and whatever. This article is going to have, and if you post this on the blockchain, if that's like the blockchain is like the main internet as we know it, and you post it on there for other people to see, these people will have access to the information of who you are, right? It's going to be like, oh, Oleg Chinetsky wrote this and this about Michael Jordan. Oh, well, not really. It's going to be like the article, and then they can probably like trace the article back to whatever blockchain asset it has. And that will show like, okay, this was posted by Oleg Chinetsky. He has like these interactions with that. It's going to be completely transparent, right? That's the whole idea of the blockchain. Full and complete transparency between anyone and anything, right? The idea is that if you have that, you are creating accountability amongst the interwebs users, right? You're creating a certain necessary responsibility amongst the people that post shit onto the internet. And that doesn't stop at articles. It's going to be tweets. It's going to be comments. It's going to be anything you post is going to be linked back onto you. So that if you're being a piece of shit to someone under like an anonymous account, that's not going to work. That's not going to work anymore. You're going to be you on the blockchain. And if you're an asshole, everyone will know that you're an asshole. So that's the other side of it. Now we've covered the whole like currency side of it. We've covered we've covered the whole cryptocurrency side of it and how that implements in the world. We've kind of covered the whole NFT and digital art and how that can be interacted with like sales and all that kind of stuff. And now we've kind of like skimmed through the internet and social media. The last part, I think it's really it's really what ties it all together, right? And this is what worries people the most. And that is the rise of artificial intelligence, but more in terms of how it's going to be connected with all of this. Because if we have all of our information connected to the blockchain, right, and anyone can access it, once we have like sophisticated AI systems that will be automated to provide whatever services, whether it's security, well, security is definitely going to be one of them. They'll be able to like, oh, we need to find Oleg Chinetsky. Then they can scour the entirety of the blockchain for every single thing that I've associated with, and they will have the complete and full information of my entire posting lifespan, right? Within a second, right? Once we have quantum computing, which isn't too far away, it's going to be like that. Even without quantum computing, like the processing power that we have right now is just insane. And once that AI will make that connection with the blockchain, is boom, find anything, anyone, anywhere you want. And that's somewhat problematic, maybe. It just sounds scary because we don't know what that will look like. You know, at one point, there's an article that at one point in the medieval stages of life, the crossbow was actually considered a doomsday weapon because of how efficiently it could kill people, right? If they were wearing plated armor, swords would have a super hard time to pierce through it, but a crossbow is just gonna like go through it like butter. So yeah, artificial intelligence is just one of those things that you just never know which way it's gonna go. But yeah, and then there is this like really cool aspect of it where because computing is becoming so fast, human beings will probably have to catch up somehow. And that has been demonstrated recently by Neuralink, Elon Musk's company. You might have seen what happened. There was a video of a chimp, I'm pretty sure. Let's just say monkey, just to be anti-primatist, primatist. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure it was a chimp, monkey. So basically they implanted the Neuralink into its brain. They're kind of like monitoring the brain waves, signals, whatever, of the monkey as it completes this arbitrary task. And this task involves a monitor, and there is like a glowing dot, and there's this little square, and it has to like move alongside the grid to the dot. And every time it reaches the dot, there's a tube in front of the monkey's mouth. Fuck. Sorry about that. There's a tube in front of the monkey's mouth that feeds it banana milkshake, right? So every time it connects the square to the dot, it gets banana milkshake. And so it's using this joystick to like move it around. And like if it goes like that, the square goes like that, and it's like, you know, correlated to how the joystick moves. Now, the interesting part is this Neuralink, they were able to determine what kind of brain waves the monkey generates to move its hand in this direction to get the joystick and the little like digitalized square to move to the dot. Now, once it's done it long enough, they kind of like mapped out the entire area in the brain, and eventually they disconnected the joystick from the back, and the monkey thinks it's doing like this task with its hand and the joystick. What's actually going on is the Neuralink chip is interpreting this movement in the brain, and it's wirelessly transmitting this signal to the computer and moving this square. So the monkey is moving the square with its mind. How fucking insane is that? And, you know, at the moment, they're speculating that paraplegics, quadriplegics, whatever, they will have this ability where they'll have this chip in their brain, and then they'll have this second part of the chip in whatever region of their spine isn't functional anymore. And they'll just pretty much link the nerves to the chip in the spine. And when the person thinks of the brain signals that used to move their legs, they'll just map it to the lower spine, to the legs, and people will be able to regain their fucking movement. Like, how crazy is that? A person that couldn't walk before, and we have no way of making them walk right now, for this Neuralink technology, can start using their like hands and legs again. And, you know, eventually, obviously, that's going to go into cybernetics. Like, we've got like artificial hands that can move based on like the brain connections, right? How much easier is that going to be when you have a chip in your brain and you can just like place a hand and then connect it wirelessly? There's like no links, nothing. It's literally just computerized, no wires, nothing. It doesn't have to be attached to you. You just like put it on like a glove. Man, that's going to be insane. So once all this is happening with AI and it's got all this knowledge about us, we're going to be making that process of merging with technology and becoming symbiotic creatures, which is going to be really interesting. But this feature of like Neuralink, eventually Elon Musk was talking about how it will just improve the interface time, or like remove the necessity of like a human interface with technology, which means that instead of like pointing and clicking and pressing buttons, we will be able to think in our phone and to use our mind to search Google instead of like clicking, typing a word. We can just like think through all of that, which is really fucking insane. Because like, how is that going to look? I mean, eventually it'll probably be just like a little display on our eyes, like lenses, and we can literally like see what we're thinking. Oh, yeah, so it seems like this is where we're going. This is where we're heading. It seems like the first world is moving into that direction of having this crazy decentralized cloud that half of our life resides in. And then on the other hand, we still have our normal human problems that we shouldn't have in 2021 anymore. It's 2021 and we have wars, famine, like we argue about racism. We get into fights for no fucking reason. Meanwhile, we have all this crazy technology. Like, I'm using this like mini computer to film all this shit. Then I'm using this like bigger mini computer to process all this data. And then, as Dave Chappelle said, other people set it up in their room and twerk in front of it. Just hilarious. But yeah, I feel like we should be putting all this to better use, right? And just recently, it was so fucking upsetting watching what happened in the Gaza Strip and Jerusalem, I think, where there was some like rockets being fired and this Iron Dome defense system was like shooting them out in the sky. It looked like a movie. It looked like some kind of like sci-fi movie where like these rockets are coming and these other rockets are intercepting them. And like, I've never seen that before, but it looked insane. But this is happening in a different country right now. There are people suffering because of ideologies, because of like governments that don't want to play nice together. There's real suffering going on. Well, we are fucking investing in Dogecoin. And I think, you know, it's while we are heading into this futuristic progress of endless possibilities, we need to really take our time and at the very least just appreciate where we are in society-wise and recognize that maybe what we're complaining about is just fucking stupid, and we should like be thankful that we're not in one of those other countries that have it so much worse than us. And yeah, and if you can do more than that, try and help, I guess. I don't know how. Send them money. I need money. Anyway, just, I think at the very least, be grateful for where you are. Be a good person. Try to do the best things. Try to be the best person you can be here and now, so that you can be mindful of what's going on in other places, and so that you can be grateful for what's not going on here. We made it. I did an entire hour by myself without having awkward pauses. Yeah, so I think it's 11 o'clock at night. Yep. So thank you for listening. This was actually pretty fun. I'm definitely hopefully not going to be as nervous next time. I'm going to be by myself. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.